got a call from my son, which is obviously quite nice. Well, from his mother's phone. He doesn't have a phone because he tried to get me to buy him a phone. And then I asked him, why do I need to buy you a phone? He said to me, Dad, I mean, sometimes you may need to look for me and you need to call me. I said, no, I don't look for you. I know where you are. It's my job to know where you are. And I never lose you, so I don't need to look for you. I mean, I dropped him at the school and I picked him. So I said, I've never lost you, so I don't need to look for you. Just give me another reason why you need a phone. Just be honest with me. I don't never need to call you because my role in life is always to know where you are. So that never flew, and I said I didn't buy him a phone. So he called me yesterday to share good news. He says, Dad, I've got good news. I said, of course. I mean, I need some good news. And so he said to me that he's just been appointed in the, what do they call it? He says, first of all, he says, Dad, do you know this thing, JCC? And I said, I don't know, the JCC. And so apparently at 13, he's just become the member of the Junior City Council. And he just told me yesterday. So I'm chuffed over that. So I feel excellent. I feel wonderful as a dad. So I thought, yeah, at least, I mean, this thing is working. I'm not that bad after all. You know, if I can have a child that is in the Junior City Council, I mean, at least there's hope for me, you know. So, especially that I never had a dad. So what makes this thing so radical and so amazing for me is the fact that I didn't see this being done by anybody in front of me. It was so normal for us growing up to have our fathers or have our friends not having fathers. It was more normative than actually being exceptional. Everyone around me, either the person who was a father figure was either a boyfriend of their mother or stepfather, but very few people I knew had nuclear families with father and mother in their family. And so when my wife got pregnant and then my child was born, my son was born in 2009, I don't know, something came over me. It started in church, as a matter of fact. It's a very strange thing. So we're at a church in a township called Motherwell, and it grew to be a very big church. I've got a very charismatic pastor leader, and so it grew the church to 400 people, I think 500 people. So at over 200, close to 200 young people in my youth. So it was a vibrant, amazing church to be part of. But what's strange about this church is that my favorite people were children. What I mean by that is that I'm a pastor, and the pastors sit in front, you know, they keep the dignity, you know, like they have to look dignified. And those days you wore suits, you know, not like these days of jeans and all this backslid state of hands and, you know. So you wore a suit, you know. When you're a pastor, you wear a suit. And so, but I had children, other people's children, and they will run after me after the service. They'll hug me in my legs, and something was happening. I wasn't aware what was going on, but I was very close to children. And I didn't know that God was doing something in my heart. To a point where I would visit somebody's home, a member of the church, not to visit them, but to visit their kids. It was the strangest thing ever. I mean, today you will think that this guy is up to no good. Why were we visiting my kid? I mean, I go Hans' house and says, is your daughter around? I mean, how do you do? How do you make up of something like that? A guy just visit your house and he's not looking for you. It's like, is Cheryl around? I'm like, oh, and she's like, no, I know you're not coming for me. Yeah, Cheryl, pastor is here. And that's just how it worked out. And I didn't know that God actually was doing something in my heart with regards to children. I still find it very difficult to stomach news regarding the abuse of children and what people do to children. And what Simon shared here about the abortion and things like that. And I want to share something with you that, to me, it links to something very profound in the Bible. Most of you are familiar to the passage where Jesus goes up from Galilee to Jordan to be baptized by John. But the story is profound because it's a long distance to have traveled to be baptized by John. And it shows the type of leader Jesus was and the type of humility that he had to go out and fulfill righteousness, be baptized by John. So he lands at the river Jordan. The Bible says that when he went up, the heavens opened. So the sequence is important because, the heavens opened after he went up, meaning before he went up, he had gone down. The Bible says, humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, and in due season he will lift you up. So when he went up, the heavens opened, and a voice spoke from heaven, which we are familiar with Matthew 3:17. A voice spoke from heaven and says, this is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased, hear him. Right? And so a couple of important factors there that you need to understand is that this is spoken before Jesus started his public ministry, before he had preached one sermon, before he had healed any sick person. But God says he's pleased with him. So he established a very important factor regarding what a son is. So Jesus is a son by birth, not by behavior. So he doesn't become a son by what he does, he becomes a son by who he is, by DNA. So therefore, he operates from sonship. So he doesn't, therefore, earn sonship. He actually performs. So the difference between a son in the Bible and a servant serves because they're trying to please the master. A servant serves. That's why there's a difference between a son and a hireling. A servant serves because they're trying to earn an income. But a son serves because they're expanding the family business. So the motivation is different. So a son may not even be paid because they don't mind being paid because they know that it's family business. I'm expanding my own inheritance. That's why Jesus says, my business is to do the will of my Father and to finish it. My meat is to do the will of my Father and to finish it. And so when you operate from sonship, you have no reason to want to prove a point to anyone. So today when we even see preachers, people who come into ministry without an identity formed as sons, they then come to the pulpit to perform, to show off, because they are orphans. Orphans need validation. Sons know that they are loved. And so when I got this understanding, and I could translate that to my own children, and obviously, when you travel as much as I do, you're always careful that when you walk into the house, children don't run to you because they think you've got gifts for them, because you want to make sure you are the gift and you're not just, Father Christmas. And so, you want to check why they're running to me. You want to just check their motives out. Like, what's the motivation? That you become the gift. Now, there are people walk into their house, everything runs away, even the dogs and the cockroaches run away. Like, dad is around, if the cockroaches know, they're just scary around. Don't be that guy. All right? They say a truly rich man is he whose children run to him when his hands are empty. A truly rich man. Right? So they run to you for who you are, not for what you have. And you have become such an important, powerful principle in the house. My daughter had this thing of having nightmares when she's sleeping, and will wake up in the middle of the night. And I didn't know what this thing is. And then something developed. I don't know how it developed, but it just developed, where the kids come to me every night before they go to sleep to hug me and to kiss me. Now, you may be used to this. It's not for me. It's another world. Hugs, I only got to know a hug in church, a born-again church. I never got a hug prior to that. So my kids think because they hug me every night, it's normal. One day they asked me, did you tell your mother and father you love me as often as we do? I looked at them and thought, I don't know where they're coming from. What love? What is that? They would have thought, our parents would have thought something has gone on. They would ask you, are you okay? Like, are you fine? Is something gone wrong? You love me. Like, are you? They would have thought something has gone wrong if you said to them, Mommy, I love you. They would say, what? Because it's supposed to be assumed, not spoken. You're supposed to read between the lines. And so my kids are going on and on and on, I love you. And they hug every night and they kiss and they hug and they kiss. I mean, still to this day, we still kiss my daughter, like on the mouth. I'm not on the cheek. Good night. Good night. They have a whole thing they say. Good night and sleep well and all that. And since this has been happening, my daughter has no nightmares. No nightmares. So I learned something, a principle there, that my presence in my home creates such safety for my children that the safety translates into the sleep. That the sense of safety and protection I create by my presence translates into the sleep. She has no nightmares. They're gone. Since that practice of hugging before and kissing before they go to bed, no more nightmares. I didn't know. I just observed it and I realized this thing is gone completely. No more person waking up in the middle of the night and crying. One day we had the 31st of December, I don't know if you guys have that, but the 31st of December, going to a new year, we celebrate, we come together, we make declarations. The new year is going to be this, it's powerful, a breakthrough, open doors, blah, 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 blah. We're going and we're excited about things. Then on the same 31st, the first of the year, I think at 3 in the morning, I don't know, my son wakes up, I think it was 4 or 5 at the time, wakes up in his room and is screaming, having a nightmare. And as he's screaming, and so my wife, what happens, baby wakes up, and the first person to check the baby is like, your baby, your child. That's what we do sometimes. We're like, you can hear the sound, but you're hoping somebody else can hear it as well. And wake up So my wife wakes up and goes and checks on my son's. His name is Mhlope. So she wakes up and picks him up, and she picks him up. His eyes are now opened. He's looking at the roof and he's still screaming because he sees something that no one of us can see. So now it's no longer just a dream now, because his eyes are opened. He's still crying and screaming and he's looking at the roof. So I don't know what he's looking at because there's nothing but the roof. And it's not quieting down. So I wake up now, and I pick him up from my wife and I walk down the passage praying in tongues. And then it goes boom to sleep immediately. Simple like that. I just pick him up and go bah, 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 in tongues and then go and I put him back in his bed. Because part of me is like I'm saying to the devil, really? You think you're going to come and mess up in my own house, with our own children? Really? You just got this thing all confused. Whose house? Whose children? What? Like really? Are you serious? Whose children? Right? And so, look, I'm undermining my wife, and she comes as a natural, she's obviously past this, but this was not just an issue of just soothing the child, putting the child to sleep. Something else was happening, and it needed strong men to strong. It needed that kind of response. It needed headship to headship. It needed total. It needed an equal. It needed somebody who knows the authority of what goes on in that house. Somebody who knows their place. Somebody who knows that I'm the bulwark. I'm the one who puts this far but no further. I'm the guy who's supposed to do that. And the devil has to know that. So I tell guys, there was a guy at Vanderbilt Park at Northwest University who was speaking to me. He's saying to me, look, in one prayer, it says to me, look, I have this situation where at 2:49, is a student, 2:49, my computer screen comes on. 2:49. Every 2:49, he knows the time. It just comes on and there's a figure in my room. There's some evil force in my room. So he's asking I said to him, well, first of all, not only is there an evil force in your room as you explain, the Holy Spirit is also in your room at the same time. But you seem to be more aware of this evil force than you are, the Holy Spirit. I said to him, how about at 2:49, when the computer screen comes on, you make 2:49 your prayer time, right? You know that 2:49, that's the time I pray. So you let the devil know, okay, Satan, 2:49, all right, let's do this. What were you saying? Now I'm awake, and then torment the devil back instead of sitting there thinking, oh, is me. Listen, what for? I don't have time for the devil if a devil wakes me up and I'm waking up out of my sleep, I'm going to have about 1 hour of tongues tormenting him back, so he knows that just don't touch that guy. It's a waste of time. You wake that guy up from bed, he's going to torment us. Just leave me alone. Leave him alone, because he's trouble. He's better off sleeping. Don't wake him up, because he's better off sleeping. He's just trouble. Leave him alone. Why are we going to go around going, and people say to me, I feel things walking in my roof. The devil is throttling me. I said, listen, people tell me you can't sleep in your bed. I said, whose bed? Whose bed? I'm tall, man. I want to sleep anywhere I want to sleep, in my own bed. And nothing going to come in. I even stopped. I don't have wet dreams. I used to have wet dreams. I don't have them because I don't buy this nonsense. It's biology. I don't buy this nonsense. No, it's all science. What science? Why do you feel guilty afterwards and feel dirty if it's science? Why do you feel terrible afterwards if it's normal? No, it's not normal. It's evil. You take authority over it. You tell, I can't be like this. I can't. You take authority, you wake up, it's because your prayer life you need to just push in the envelope of in your prayer life and make sure that only what God has ordained happens in your sleep on your sleep. He giveth his beloved sleep. Sleep is a gift that God gives us. It's a reward that God gives. And nobody should be let alone the devil interfering with your sleep. That's a time for your body to regenerate and you have dreams from God. No nightmares, you dreaming being chased down with an axe somewhere, or you're falling off a building. You always something terrible, you're falling off. No, you mustn't be falling off. It's because the devil is using opportunities of doors that are open into our lives and spiritual complacency and weakness. We're supposed to man up in the spirit. We're not some helpless victims who might or may not make it. We are guaranteed to make it. Luke 10:19, behold, I give you power to trample over snakes and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by no means hurt you. That's what it says. That's what Jesus says. Acts 1:8, though you shall be witnesses, you shall receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and you shall be my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, and out. So Luke 24:19, wait in Jerusalem until what? You are endured with power from above. Dunamis, that's what we are promised. We are people of power. It's not like we hope. No. One king, Sennacherib, was boasting against the nation of Israel, boasting constantly because they apparently destroyed all other nations. And he says, I've destroyed all nations and its gods. I will do the same thing. Don't let Hezekiah the king lie unto you. We will destroy you. And Hezekiah went to the temple and prayed. And God sent one angel. One angel. But the following day, 185,000 Assyrians were dead. One angel. And it says he has given his angels charge over you. And you still call yourself a worm. Who guards a worm? Who gives VIP protection to guard? Because angels, you go and guard that worm there in Somerset. No, it's because you're a son. It's because you're precious. It's because you carry the DNA of heaven. It's because you are the image of the Father. And when God sees you, he sees himself in you. And the devil knows that. And he would make anything possible for us not to see who we are. That's why the statement to the Eve, did God say? You know, and the devil sold Eve a lie. Eat of this tree, you shall be like God. Like, duh. They were already like God. But clearly they didn't get who they were. So one of the things the devil will do is sell us a lie of who we are. So we would never know truly who we are. So we get obsessed about race, obsessed about class, obsessed about gender. So we don't really know who we really are. We go around with misconceptions. When they said to John the Baptist, who are you? And he answered 3 times, I'm not the prophet, I'm not Elijah, I'm not Jeremiah. Who are you there? To know who you are, you must know who you are not. You must eliminate wrong concepts of identity to discover a true essence. I'm not Elijah, I'm not a prophet, but I am the voice of the one crying in the wilderness, make straight the way of the Lord. So there are things there are layers that you have put upon ourselves, and society has put, that you need to disrobe yourself of so that you may discover the essence of who you are. A person who cannot be destroyed because you are still with Christ in heavenly places, we are in him. That's why Paul says, nothing shall separate us from the love of God. For the devil to get you, he must get to God and get to Christ. Christ is in God. So the devil must get to Christ in God to take you out. That's impossible. Only you can give Satan the opportunity to take you out through your rebellious and disobedience. He has no power to do so. The only power he gets is what you give him. Hosea 4:6, my people perish for lack of knowledge. It's ignorance that gives the devil a foothold over our lives. When we know who we are, he's in trouble. That's why he would bring division. He would bring confusion. He will bring such things that we don't know what we are or who we are. One day my daughter was having inoculation in the hospital, and we came out. Now, you know this. By law, the person who carries the baby, which side of the car they sit in. The person carrying the baby. At the back. People do know the law. At the back. You can't sit the baby in front. That's breaking the law. So I came out of hospital because I've just seen the pediatrician, who's, by the way, not wanting me to take off my children's nappy because he's waiting for your mother. I'm like, I put these things on so I can put them off. So let's go around the business. I clean the stuff out, I clean these bums up, and I put the thing in. So doctor, and he's waiting, he's wondering, where's the mother? I'm like, I'm here. And so we see, and we have the inoculation, so she's sleeping on my chest. And then we get into, so because I'm carrying the baby and she's sleeping, I go and sit in the back of the car. And my wife sits in front and she drives the car because she can drive, you see. And I didn't know that there's a gender around this thing. And then she's sitting in front, driving the car, and I'm smiling. It's an enjoyable moment for me. It's wonderful. I know all the eyes are looking at me, and everybody thinks, oh, there's no man there. That guy's finished. There's just pens walking by themselves. I know what they're thinking. I know what they're thinking, and I'm enjoying myself. I'm thinking to myself, I mean, you have a fragile masculinity. If your masculinity depends on who drives the car, it's very weak and very fragile. Mine is secured. It doesn't matter who drives the car. My masculinity is intact. I know who I am. So my wife drives the car, and I'm smiling. I can see the eyes staring. I'm like, yeah, got you. Got you, you stubborn stiff. You know, it's like a donkey. I don't know who messed up with your mind. Somebody has messed up with you. You're programmed. You're like a robot. Just don't mess up with me. I am not going to allow your mess to come into my life. So when I wash dishes in my house, my masculinity has not been broken. It still remains there. If I watch my children and I put a lotion on them and I put clothes on them, I'm still the man of the house. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. That's why I was in every gyno appointment my wife had. There's not a single appointment my wife has with a gyno where I've never attended, let alone the birthing day. But every gyno appointment, she's never gone once to see the gyno without me being present. Not once. Every time she saw daughter, I was present. And I was present, both obviously. I tell people that look at me like, I said, what do you mean? I said, why are you surprised about? You were there when you made the people. When they made, if I remember correctly, I was present when we made the people. If my memory serves me very well. If my memory serves me very well, I seem to remember being present when we made the people. Now it only makes sense for me to be present when they come out. It's like you start the thing, you finish what you started. Like, what's wrong with you? How do you start something and you don't finish it? I mean, you finish what you started. It's like it's logical. Guys look at me like, one day we're in a conference up in Bishop, and this guy is like telling us in a conference like with pastors, going, so my wife is giving birth today in Queenstown. So I'm telling our senior pastor, this guy's pastor, his wife is giving birth. He's like a mighty evangelist, a man of God. He's here in the crowd. My wife is giving birth. He's telling us my wife is giving birth. He's reporting to us his wife is giving. He's in a conference. I'm thinking to myself, something wrong here. How can you? I wouldn't even, my mind will not even be still. I wouldn't even know how to worship. I wouldn't even focus on anything. I can't be present anywhere except there, where it matters. To be the priest who's the first one after the doctors have delivered, to be the first hands afterwards to receive that product that comes out of the womb. So that I am the first one to hold that product out of the womb, directly from the womb into my hands. But that's why it's necessary. Because I have that authority in God to do that. And I'm absent from my responsibility. That's what caused the world to fall into what it is. That's what Adam, this fool, caused us to be where we are right now. We have to go and get jobs. The Bible says Eve ate and gave to Adam, who was with her. That fool was standing there. I promise you. He was standing there. I don't know what he was doing, twiddling his thumbs. How does your wife speak to a snake and you don't say anything about it? How does it happen? How do you have a wife speaking to a snake? Your wife is talking to a snake. Why don't you just do something about what is a snake? Have you ever seen a snake speaking? I mean, you're sitting there, your wife's talking to a snake. She said, hey, nonsense. Hey, you, go away. Leave my wife. You can't just leave your wife speaking to a snake. That guy is standing there. The snake gives his wife a fruit and is saying nothing. And then he takes, hey, Eve, okay, Eve. Okay, baby, you've eaten. Okay, let me eat some. Whenever someone eats was now you've eaten. That's full. The whole world fell. When he ate, particularly. The whole world fell because he's the prince of creation. He fell. The first thing he did, of course, was blame his wife. It's the woman who gave me. Transferring responsibility and guilt. And God was not buying that business. And the same way this is woman, man, woman, snake, and God judged them in the same order in the reverse. Snake, woman, and then man. When he judged man, the whole topography of the earth began to change. Thorns and thistles grew up, animals became wild, and the whole world changed because the man was now judged. And his environment was also judged. Because that's the authority he possesses. So one of the things that I have seen, and I want to perhaps bring this, because I want to be practical, because many things that someone has said need us to respond practically. And not only just philosophically, which is wonderful, we've laid the foundation. We are busy with some of us who may wonder where this country is going. I am a man of prayer. I love prayer. I pray a lot. I pray and I do, but I also believe in practical stuff. So if we're going to continue being like ducks and sheep, just being a voting folder, voting for people who are messing this country, we have no reason to complain. Because then we are responsible for the product of leadership we are getting. And so one of the things we need to do, in the previous elections, we had 19 million people did not vote. Cut the nose to spite the face. When you don't vote, you are the part of the problem, not part of the solution. 19 million. The political parties govern this country with 17 million votes, less votes than there are people. The ANC governs with 10 million, DA with 3.2, EFF has got 1.3 million votes. The biggest parties in the country. So they're not the majority supported. They're just majority supported by those who voted. 19 million people decide to stay at home. Then they want to complain. If 19 million people, 12 million of them could vote differently, not even affecting any of the political parties' votes, leaving them as they are, just new voter block, voting a different voting direction. We're going to take the government in the 2024 elections right now, back. If somebody could say, let's vote, let's find somebody who's a Christian, with godly values, and support them, the country can be taken back. In this coming elections, not somewhere praying and hoping that it will happen when Jesus comes. Like now. But it requires us to be practical about it. So we need to take things seriously about this. And this country is where it is because we have let it be where it is. We've allowed people to come around and divide us and allow us to be held in these enclaves around race. Our role really, when we become sons, when we become sons of God, first thing I learned, I didn't know this thing, I'll be honest, I didn't understand first of all this thing about the rhino. You guys going around trying to save the rhino. I didn't quite get, what's the rhino thing and save the rhino. I'm like, I didn't understand this thing until I understood. Because some people were really, if you listen to the rhetoric of the world, you get fed false narratives. Like sometimes making this thing about a race or certain race prefer certain causes. When you understand sonship, you understand creation is given to us to steward. Romans 8:19, creation is groaning and waiting for the manifestation of sons of God. So we're not stewarding creation because we favor certain types of creation. We should be conserving all of creation because it's up to us to conserve what God has given, not up to some conservationists or tree huggers. It's a job of a Christian. So when I see a Christian throwing away papers, I know they're not being discipled well. I know that they still have a lot of work that will be done in their faith if they can just throw away paper after eating it. Because a Christian should be the first person to not to pollute. Because that's a basic responsibility of being a child of God, of being a son of God. You are a steward of creation. So you don't pollute. I was in the ocean, they tell me in 50 years' time there will be more plastics in the ocean than there are sea animals. So we want to ingest fish and other sea animals with plastic particles in them, and which are going to come into our stomach, and then that's where cancers will develop. We're just destroying ourselves, destroying the planet. Now, so first port of call, as far as understand our responsibility as citizens of the kingdom of God, is not just the church, is not the kingdom. Please, the church is part of the kingdom, but the kingdom is broader than the church. The church is the entryway to the kingdom, but the kingdom is broader. So we're kingdom citizens. We happen to belong in different gatherings. We're a church everywhere. As a matter of fact, we're a church now gathered, and we live here, we're a church scattered. But we're always a church. All right? So therefore, part of it is to understand our citizenship. I'm a son of God. So everything I fight for is for the kingdom. For the king to be ruling over this nation. And I extend that, it's not as Simon is correct. I could just be a public success, as I call it, and a private failure. I say the right things everywhere. I'm not saying the right things at home. So it starts with me in my home. It doesn't start with me being a known public speaker, being on TV, whereas my children don't even know who I am as their dad. So it starts at home. I play my role in my own house. Then it extends to the circle of influence I have around me. School governing bodies, your neighborhood watches. There can't be people walking around, my neighbor, can't be walking around and taking advantage of robbing. I had students being gun pointed in where I stayed, close to the university. We had to stand up. I said, no, we're not going to just sit here and then, that's one of the, no, I said, no way. We're not going to sit in a place where people just take over the community and take over students' laptop at gunpoint, and we're sitting here and we're complaining about the police and everything else. We're going to take responsibility as men and make sure there's a WhatsApp group, there's neighborhood watch. We're not going to allow these guys to come and terrorize us here. And we live as helpless victims in our own community. When we pay rates to stay here, it's not like we stay here for free. We pay here, we need some peace and tranquility to be in this community. We're not going to terrorize the people driving in here, rob people and then drive out. We have to take responsibility for those things. And so that basically, you can't be ambivalent to gender-based violence because it doesn't affect you as a man. Every war that is against humanity is against us as children of God. So the war against women is a war against humans. And we are custodians and we are protectors of our women. So we have to fight that war as well. So we have to start by understanding that we are sons of the Most High God. And he's given us a responsibility to fight the battles that belong to anything that, I think it's A.W. told us, says, God will never use you greatly until he wounds you deeply. So great men are wounded people. Wounded over injustice, wounded over everything that breaks the heart of God should break your heart. Everything. That's why we couldn't as a church in my congregation. My church is in the township, right? Township, poorest township in Portland because I can research it. But my few people in my church will never protest and burn a building. Never. Because I've taught them this stuff in my own congregation. I even was here in Cape Town. I was having a discussion and the church called me to talk to students about a God-glorifying way of protesting. I was moderating there. And so we spoke. And of course, they have a right to protest. And that's why I dropped out of university in 97. I dropped out because fees were not falling. They were rising when I was there. So I couldn't benefit from fees falling. They were rising. So I couldn't finish any degree. So I understand the fight against expensive education system. But I don't understand violence as a means to resolve that. They know that I'm totally opposed to that. So we taught. So our members of our few people in our church know that breaking into somebody's spaza shop in the name of protest and stealing their product is absolutely out of the question. You cannot do that. There's no justification for it. They know there's no justification for it. Why? Not because you're poor or rich. Nothing to do with poor or rich. It has something to do with being a child of God. That's period. You can't do that because you're a child of God. And your values and morality is defined by God, not the circumstances. That's it. And that's important. So it means everyone should use their circle of influence. I'm a pastor, so my pulpit is my circle of influence. So I have to preach non-racialism from my pulpit to predominantly black people to understand that there's no reversal of whatever, reversal, hatred, whatever. There is an embracement of the commandment to love. Life is not a great suggestion, it's a great commandment. We're not asked or suggested or advised to love. We are commanded to love. So it's not a feeling, it's a decision. I don't feel like I love my wife. I do. I've decided, and feelings follow later. And sometimes, and always there, if we can be honest with ourselves. Sometimes I'm thinking, this woman, my Lord, what is, are we going to do this thing forever? Is this thing going to work? But I just made a decision. Like I made a decision never to sleep in a different bedroom, even if we are fighting. Although we've got two other bedrooms that were there as an option. I made a decision never to leave the main bed and sleep elsewhere. Let's resolve the issue. And sometimes I'm sitting next to her, I'm sleeping, I'm thinking to myself, am I going to sleep here? Next to this person? Lord have mercy on me. Which means, a friend of mine came to me and asked me, Afrika, how do you guys do this marriage thing? So what do you mean? He says, it's not marriage. He says, my girlfriend, when we fight, I chase her out. So what do you guys? I said, we don't chase people out. I said, marriage teaches you maturity. You have to handle. So marriage matures you because it teaches you to handle conflict differently. We have no option of chasing anybody out. Therefore, we learn to resolve conflict differently. So my wife once said, marriage is the last place to grow up. If you didn't grow up before, marriage is the last place. If you don't make it in marriage, there's no hope for you. Marriage is a place of unselfishness, of being asked, where are you going? Where were you? Why did you take that long? I mean, marriage is a place of reporting of every cent, every car, every time. You can't just start a car. I mean, I can't just take my keys. If I take the keys, the first thing is like, I can't just, it's not my car. It's my keys. Like, where are you going? Like, okay, she doesn't say it, but you know I get my point. So, and I realized why. I mean, one day, is the last one, one day I'm going to Europe, Estonia, to preach there, and my wife has been telling me of these songs I love so much, with holes in front. She's been telling me to throw away these socks. And I've been refusing, because I'm a man, you see. I know what I'm doing. And I go to a country called Estonia. We go to a house, wooden floors. And you take shoes off. So people are taking off shoes. I must take off shoes. And I'm taking the shoes. I have to take the shoes off. And I'm like, all the time thinking, what did your wife say? What did your wife say? Stubborn. Look at the cost of stubbornness. I take off the shoes and I'm walking, and obviously it's a bit embarrassing. By the time I got back to South Africa, the first task I got back when I flew, throw the socks away. I finally heard my wife after being beaten. Even wearing pajamas, I promise you. I just thought I could just sleep. I said, no, I'm fine. She says to me, no, you're not fine. I said, I said, nobody sees me how I look. She says, I do see you. You must look good next to me. I said, what's the point? She says, yes, but I see you. So you need pajamas. She went and bought me pajamas. I said, oh, it's no hal. I mean, imagine. Woolies, pajamas, soft stuff. I was the man. I'd arrived. I was like, now I travel around the country and I go to places and we have tea and coffee, and guys are having tea and coffee, and look at what I'm wearing. Pajamas. I'm like, thank you, Wani. Thank you, baby. Look at me now. I was going to go around with shorts and a t-shirt with Zuma's face on my level. Oh, sorry. Anyway, we're going to pray, guys. And one of the prayers I want to make is, I want us to pray to God that He just enlists us into the army. The army is not an army of, there's right now 20% active, 80% spectators. It's an army where everybody should be competent. Yes. If all of us were to stand, the devil is in Mhlope? Yes, it's in trouble. You see? Yeah. So the devil is in trouble if we can all stand and stand with God. And so I want us to stand today and trust God to different spheres, different domains, different places of influence. We all differ. We all have spheres of influence. Some greater, some lesser. But every one of us have a role that we can play. As fathers, it starts right there. Father, the word father means a pater, means a source. We're a source of wisdom, we're a source of children, we're a source of many things. And God obviously is a prime father of our lives. So I want us to pray that God would just challenge us as many things, especially as someone has mentioned here in Javi. I want us to pray to God. Let God show you what you must do in your own space. And please pray for some of us, different responsibilities, as I've said. We're just not going to allow this nation to fall apart. This nation will not fall apart. Yes. Not in my watch. Not in my watch. Not in my watch. My fear is that my son will ask me, what did you do? Dad, what did you do? That's my fear. Dad, what did you do? I don't want to answer that question. It's a very terrible question. Every giant you don't slay, your children have to fight. Every Goliath you leave lying around, the king that Saul did not kill, and the nation that he did not kill came up and became a hornet's nest in them. And they brought in evil worship in them because they did not kill the pagans that God instructed. They intermarried with them, and the worship of pagans was incorporated into Jewish worship. We are supposed to slay the giants. And giants of racial polarization and division and bringing us into a part must be slayed here today. Our kids know this better than we do, guys. We need to learn maybe for our kids. Our kids don't know anything about race. They just see a child of their age and they play. We need to learn from these kids.